Hey, Gabriel, you're on with Secular Rarity and Richard Gilliver. What's up?
Hi guys, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. It's quite cold here in Canada. We just
Mm,
had quite a storm and cold temperatures.
mm,
Yeah, but I'm fine.
good, good. Hopefully you are staying warm and safe.
Yep, I am. Thank you.
Well, yeah, what you got for us
So,
today? It sounds like you want to talk about rituals?
yes. So,
Yeah.
my question is about if we as humans, even as atheists, as secularists, we need rituals in our life.
Mm,
And I'm not
mm,
talking about a routine because a routine, I think, is quite different, like brushing your teeth and all of that. That's not ritual. I'm talking more ceremonies with other peoples, maybe, or
mm.
I guess you could call prayer, but it could be meditation, maybe at night before going to bed, meditate on your day, on your week, etc. Do you think that this is a ritual, and do we need it?
Yeah, definitely. I know, Richard, you've got a little bit of knowledge on some rituals and stuff. You're fairly knowledgeable on some of this.
Yeah,
What are your thoughts?
I've meditated for probably 20 years plus. So yeah, but I don't know whether I wouldn't view meditation as a ritual personally, but people do use things like that as ritual. My field of study is religious studies, and I know you said you didn't want to talk about this, but we would actually in religious studies we would look at daily routines as ritual. And I think if we have if we are looking at where rituals come from and why people do them, part of that is because of daily routines. Some
Mm,
people have rituals that they'll double check the doors to make sure they're locked. These can
Mm.
realistically be called rituals. These are things that people do to make them feel comfortable, to make them feel grounded and present, and people do them, and it might be something as basic as that. When it comes to kind of these rituals that people do that might be meditation, might be prayer, might be whatever, that are more supernaturally based or seen as more supernaturally based. Yeah, I think everybody has an aspect of that. I think people like to kind of, like I say, feel grounded. And
mm,
I don't think I wouldn't criticize people for doing that. I think it all depends on how you're approaching it, and whether you're approaching it from the perspective of it being simply as a ritual that makes you feel comfortable, or whether you're suspending kind of skepticism and doing it and attributing things to it. I know that I've got friends who are secular, they don't believe in gods and things, but they have little altars. And they might have
Mhm.
statues of like witch statues, pagan gods and goddesses, and they don't actually believe they exist. But it helps ground them and make them feel better. Uh, Again, that's not something I would do, but it helps these people do things, and there's no supernatural kind of attribution towards it whatsoever. There are other people who do
Mhm.
exactly the same thing and do believe that they're real things, and I think that point, that disconnect there, is the point where I would start, asking questions around people. If people are saying, "Yeah, I do this daily ritual," I do believe there's some supernatural entity which is important for me and it's giving me power to get through the day. That's when I would start asking questions around that. Uh, Daily rituals,
Mhm.
for me personally, no problem, but everybody's different. Some people might see a normal daily ritual in that vein as too
mm.
far. But atheism is a great thing where we have lots of different opinions within it. What one person A says, person B might disagree with. The only thing we share in common is that we don't believe in a god.
And what
Yeah, and
about societies at large? Do you think societies have rituals? No, I see in the comments like weddings and promotions and all of that. Sure.
yeah.
Do you think we should have other more? uh, ceremonial rituals as secularists, as atheists?
So where my thoughts come down on this is that oftentimes when we think about various religions, there are three facets that seem to show up a lot, not 100%, but a lot of times it's like there's some rituals that are involved, right? Like there's like a set of beliefs generally, and then there's like this supernatural element, right? And my issue is with the
Mm-hmm.
supernatural and the set of beliefs. My issue isn't with, for instance, the Hindu festival of Holi, where everybody gets together and it's real colorful and they dance a lot and they sing a lot
Mm-hmm.
and they eat a bunch of good food and they do all these fun things. And I think all of that is amazing. I think all of that is great. The idea of a bunch of
Oh
people
yeah.
getting together and singing the same song and hands in the air, pumping fists and all that good stuff. Like, yeah, I think all of that is awesome. And so when it comes to either individually or societally, yeah, I think heck yeah, let's keep these rituals because a lot of times we can show in a totally secular, totally scientific manner, just doing some of these things is really good for us. There's something about us as people that when we all kind of get together for a common purpose, even if it's just something as simple as going to fly kites, right? Or just cloud watching. Like there
Mm-hmm.
are really, really active, successful, and super, super happy stamp collecting groups out there. Now, I'm not a part of them. Stamp collecting isn't the thing for me, but some people really love doing it. And one of their like rituals or routines, if you will, they get together every Thursday and they do something and they talk about, various things. Or I've been a part of a gym and mineral club for years where, once a month somebody comes in and says, here's what I do. Here's what I work with. A lady makes scrimshaw. Her husband makes knife blades. Like it's awesome. It's super cool. And we can just all get together and we have a little food and we drink a little, grape juice or whatever. And we hang out and awesome. The problem for me is exactly where, Richard was kind of laying it out a second ago too, is just that supernatural element, that kind of prescribed set of beliefs or something. We're all kind of, I feel like, a little superstitious, but that gets to some really harmful places sometimes, right? When we don't have good grounding to believe that
Yeah.
something is true. So that's the issue. But if the ritual is we all get together every Wednesday and we light some candles and we sing Kumbaya once or twice and then we all hug and go home, that's awesome. I don't see anything problematic with that.
And rituals change as well. I mean, if you have a look at
Mhm.
weddings as
Mm-hmm.
an example of rituals, which I mentioned earlier on,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people now who will opt for a civil partnership instead of a wedding, and we can see that they
Mm-hmm.
want to take that religious element out of it, or if you can have secular weddings as well, where there's no kind of religious involvement whatsoever. And people need to people do that, and we can see that changing as a society. We can see that trend changing as a
Mhm.
society, and people still want the ritual element of it. They still want that ritual and that aspect of committing themselves to each other and be seen to committing themselves to each other. But the method of how they go about that is changing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see. Well, thank you for your answers and have a great day, a great rest of the show. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks so
thank you
much,
for your call,
Gabriel.
Gabriel.
We appreciate that. Yeah, I think there's a lot of value um in those types of rituals that you're kind of talking about, Richard. And not just in the like being able to look back through like a historical or sociological, anthropological type thing, right? But just there is something to us kind of congregating and like all being involved in the same thing. Again, even there's something about us just hanging out together. We seem to like that as people. I'm not
Yeah.
100% sure where that comes from, but
I found it very interesting when you brought up meditation, actually, because I've
yeah.
I've been meditating a long time, and I've never ever considered it a ritual. I've never
Yeah.
considered it from that kind of aspect, from something that I should do at the same time, and something I should do kind of religiously, if you like. It's all been very practical from the way I look at it.
I wonder, do you go through do you go through like a similar process and when getting ready or like finishing, like do you always, maybe put on the same kind of, robe, or you light a certain
No,
candle,
I'm
or
very simplistic. I just sit down and do it. In fact, I'm kind of at that. I don't want to say stage because it sounds like there's like stages to go through, and there isn't. But I'm quite happy meditating, just walking around. I can walk around
oh,
and kind of get into that kind of mind frame. But I've been doing it a long time. I think that's kind of. But that's for a different day. That's another story.
mm, yeah, that is interesting though. And again, like I was kind of mentioning, there are some actual there are some studies out there that do seem to indicate that being engaged in these kind of things is something beneficial for us. We've shown people can have these religious experiences, whether they're in church or at a at a cool concert, or a soccer game or something. Richard's probably shaking his head because I said soccer instead of football. But that's actually, that's good that we brought that up, because we actually have a chat poll, I think, today in the live chat, that's about, whether or not, science disproves God, or is it can science prove God? Or honestly, I haven't seen a single scientific thing that indicates God at all, Richard. I don't know if you have, but I am completely unconvinced by all of that. So hopefully there is somebody out there that has some good scientific evidence for us and would like to present it today, because I mean, Richard, are you open to changing your mind? Or are you
Yeah, I'm very so.
okay?
In fact,
Okay.
one of the things I talk about, talking about science and proving God is, or evidencing God, is one of the when I'm talking to religious people, one of the things that gets thrown at me a lot is that, you know, well, the problem with atheists is that they'll only take scientific evidence and they're not interested
Hmm.
in anything else, and that's just not true. I'm
Hmm.
quite I'll put open to philosophical proofs that demonstrate God to exist. And I think you can't straw man people by just simply stating what evidence they'll accept.
Yeah.
Let's start from a mutual position where we're talking to each other and and listening to each other and want to know what the other person thinks rather than stating what the other person thinks.
I think that is a great way to engage in these conversations. And I just got word, folks. I just got word from our wonderful crew that 3% of our respondents in the chat poll today say yes, science can prove God. So definitely, Richard and I want to hear from you. If you have some scientific evidence, if you've got a paper or some video or whatever the heck it is, we want to talk about it. So, and we will absolutely listen to you and get your point. But again, I don't know, Richard. I'm on the not believing side right now. I am. So it's gonna have to be some good proof. So I'm sure there's somebody out there that's up to the task.